Hi, this is Matt Levy, and
Hi, this is Ariel here with my mom.
Paola Villarreal.
And today we're going to do an interview with her about her life and experience with Pinochet. So, can you tell us how old you were when Pinochet came into power?
Well, first of all, I was born in 1967, and Pinochet came to power in 1973. So I was 6 years old.
Where did you grow up in Chile?
I grew up in Santiago, and I grew up in my grandfather's house,
So you were right in the capital of Chile,
right in
in the middle
Santiago,
of all
right
the
in the middle,
action.
right.
So, did you notice any real cultural change when Pinochet came into power from when you were little?
Yes, the entire nation was completely divided. My own family was divided. My mom, my brother, and I, we were living in a house. And when the coup happened, when they were bombarding the how do you call that? La Moneda. Do you know what the White House? It was called La Moneda in Chile. So when they were bombarding that, my grandfather, who was pro Allende, started calling us, telling us that we needed to get to the house right away because something really bad was happening. The military and the cops were taking over the entire nation, and they killed Allende in La Moneda. You know, a lot of things that I know about what happened in Chile, I didn't learn it until I got to this country, because it was forbidden to speak about politics, and it was something that we didn't talk about it because it was scary. People were divided, so you didn't know who was going to turn against you if you said you were against Pinochet. So I grew up without really talking about politics. We grew up in my grandfather's house, and he was a pro agenda. So our house was they kept on watching our house, the military. I remember that my grandfather had a lot of pictures of Allende everywhere. So we had to hide all of that. So,
Do you remember having a curfew?
oh yes, we used to have curfews. 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, everybody was supposed to be at home. One time, my grandfather was coming from. He used to play a lot with his friends, domino. So one time he was walking with the other guy, with one of his friends, and it was very late. And one of the military guys shot the gun. My mom and a lot of other of my cousins had to go and rescue him because he was detained by the militaries, and they didn't want him. They didn't want to let him go. It was very scary. One time too, my mom was driving with us when the coup happened. The militaries were everywhere. The guys. So they said to my mom, "You need to stop the car." And my mom kept on driving. And the guys were pointing all guns at us. So that was very scary.
Do you know anyone who was among the disappeared?
Yes. When we used to go to school, you used to just go, and then you will say, "Where is, let's say, Juanito?" Say, "Oh, I don't know what happened to Juanito." And then suddenly we wouldn't see Juan, the little boy, for a long time. And they would say, "Oh, he's sick," or his family moved away. And it was because they had to escape, or they fled the country, or they were killed by the government. And the other thing that was scary, you know what it was? So we grew up I went to a Catholic school, and a lot of the priests were pro agenda. So the military was always coming to our schools, trying to get all parents and people, and they used to tell the kids, "If you know anybody who is against Pinochet, you have to tell us." So the little kids will tell on you. like such and such family are talking about Pinochet and they're against him. So things like that.
Oh, can you talk about the river?
The river. That's Mapocho. It runs in Santiago. So they say and they claim, I never saw anybody's, but they say that a lot of the people who were murdered, their bodies used to float in the Mapocho.
You provided us with a picture of your grandpa next to Pinochet. Can you tell us about that and the relationship?
So my grandfather, my other grandfather, that's my father's father. He was he was the president of one of the biggest market. Sell fresh fruits, fresh vegetables. It's huge. It's like a hay market. He supported the government.
So he supported the government in order to keep his business alive.
Right. So there's a picture. There's not a lot of people like that picture in my family, because he's shaking hands with a president that a lot of people thought it was a murderer and a killer, somebody who took over and killed a lot of people.
Do you know any stories of people being upstanders and rescuers?
My grandfather, my other grandfather, which is called Juan, the one that I used to live with, he helped a lot of his friends escape and flee the country. They pretended that they were sick, so they took him in an ambulance. So I saw like 2 or 3 ambulances coming to my house, thinking, we used to think that they were just sick, but they were just transporting people to the airports to help them flee the country. And we used to have to go every day to pray after school or before school started to the church next to us. But for an entire week, they told us that the priest told us that we were not going to be allowed to do that because they were doing some constructions or whatever in the church. So later on, we find out why the priests were not allowing us to go and pray. It was because they were hiding all these people from Pinochet.
Have you ever heard of the Villa Grimaldi?
No. The what?
Like the little, like
it was the biggest detention center where they held people
camps.
and tortured
them. No, but the stadium, one of the national,
sports, like soccer stadium.
Soccer stadium, one of the biggest, which is called Estadio Nacional. That's where they say that they were bringing all the people to detain them. So there were thousands and thousands of people in those places waiting to be killed.
Mm-hmm.
But still, up to this point, there will always be people saying that the disappearance, the killings, never happened. One of my cousins one time said, everybody talks about all these people who disappear. I would like for you to go to Europe and see how they're living now. All those people who disappear are living a good life in other countries.
So there are people who try to deny what happened in Chile?
Of course. Like everywhere. When there is a chaos and murder and human rights have been violated, people are going to try to say that it never happened.